The Goat House is back with NFL Power Rankings heading into Week 18, the final week of the NFL regular season, ranking every NFL team from 32 to 1 every single Tuesday morning. We'll have playoff rankings heading into the playoffs and a lot of content as well. Let's get into the video. A new number 32 heading into Week 18, the Tennessee Titans. So down a spot to 32, have been really struggling lately. Couldn't beat the Jags one time. Start to question, is Brian Callahan the guy? It sounds like they're going to roll with him, but it's definitely been questionable there. 31, the Giants beat up the Colts, scored a ton of points. I don't know where that came from, but they're up a spot off that win to 31. Before last week, they really looked like the worst team in football, so it's kind of tough to move them up a ton, but we'll move them ahead of the Titans right now. 30, the Bears have the biggest losing streak in football currently. They finally got some defense going, but the offense has kind of been bad, but yeah, that was a brutal one to lose against Seattle, even though the season was over. The Patriots down 2 spots after getting shellacked by the Chargers. 28, the Browns are down 2 spots. They're starting to look worse with DTR at quarterback. Obviously, they still have some random good wins, but they're one of the worst teams in football still. There's a lot of bad teams. The Jags up 3 spots. They're putting some wins together here and there, mainly against the Titans, but it's pretty easy to move up when you win down here because you don't have to hop the best teams in the world. 26, the Saints down 2 spots. Yeah, really struggling right now as they are injured. Losing to the Raiders in that fashion isn't great. 25, the Jets will stay put. The Raiders will go up 4 spots, and yeah, it's a lot for a struggling team like the Raiders, but they're starting to win some football games. They beat the Jags, they beat the Saints, so we know that right now they are better than these other really bad teams below them. Panthers will stay put at 23, a disappointing outing against the Bucks. Panthers could be a little sneaky, but I mean they still lose football games for the most part. 22, the Colts will go down 2 spots after the embarrassment of how they get eliminated from the playoffs, of losing to the worst team in football, the Giants, giving up that many points. That was kind of the early season Colts defense, and all of a sudden we're going, how is this defense getting better? And then boom, nope, it's not. It's actually kind of, they're kind of frauds in that category, and they showed it that week. The Cardinals moved up while losing just because the Colts absolutely needed to move below them. The Cardinals did put up a good fight with the Rams. They were kind of unlucky they didn't win that game on top of it. We know the Cardinals are better than the Colts, some of these other teams. The Niners, same situation. They're kind of in the same boat as the Cardinals. Like, they had to move up because the Colts needed to move down. The Niners put up a fight with the Lions. You actually could argue they could have won that game if Purdy didn't make 2 bad throws. Other than that, he played pretty well, but 2 really bad throws resulted in interceptions. They were outplaying the Lions for a little bit in that game, so they move up 1 spot. Cowboys, yeah, they get beat up, but they've been playing pretty decent football. They beat the Bucks a week ago, so no reason to move them down. The Falcons at 18 put up a really good fight with the Commanders. They easily could have won that game and shot up the rankings. Number 17, the Dolphins. They did win. They moved down a spot. Just felt like another team. The Bengals had to move up ahead of them, while the Dolphins, without Tua, they don't look as good. So I don't mind putting them at 17. There's the Broncos. They're not playing as well as they were midseason. Obviously, the offense still could be explosive here and there. I think they could have done a lot more in that game in the first half. Winnable game against the Bengals. They were a little fortunate to kind of be in it, and they still lost the game. The defense certainly is declining throughout the season. They're down a spot to number 16, but have a good shot to be in the playoffs still. 15, the Seahawks go down a spot. Great defensive outing, winning 6-3. I don't know what happened to the offense in that game. I guess poor weather, in Chicago. Before that, they've been playing pretty decent football, defensively, but on offense here and there against Minnesota as well. So it's hard to punish them too much for a win. Well, after coming off a win, they're down a spot, but just had to move the Bengals ahead of them. There's the Bengals, who haven't had the best season, but they're up 3 spots to 14. They're starting to put together some wins. They haven't been the prettiest, but they play a pretty good team in the Broncos, and they do, even though they almost choked it, they did outplay the Broncos in this game. So they're up 3 spots, number 14. They kind of feel like, the offense feels like a playoff team, but they need a lot to happen to squeak in. Texans down a spot to 13. They're locked into their seed at 4. Number 12, the Chargers go up a spot to number 1. They're kind of in a battle with the Steelers, who will get the 5, who will get the 6. We'll have our weekly pick show on earlier on Wednesday this week with the other guys, so join us for that. It's always a lot of fun. Full coverage for the playoffs next week. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn notifications on. We'll get a mock draft rolling out next week, regrading the draft like we always do. A lot of fun content on the way. 11, there's the Steelers, who are struggling a little bit lately. Yeah, they're playing some good teams, but down 3 spots. They get completely outplayed by the Chiefs, and yeah, that might be the best team in football, but the Steelers, teams are starting to figure out Russell Wilson. Remember, he didn't start week 1. He got thrown in against the Jets, so somewhat early mid-season, and I think teams are starting to figure that out right now. They're starting to figure them out on both sides of the ball, so that's really not ideal going into the playoffs. I think they have a chance to snap out of it at the right time here. We will see, but they're down 3 spots to number 11 as they aren't playing their best football right now. Number 10, Bucs go up a spot. Man, if they didn't lose to the Cowboys a week ago, they would be much higher, but they still do have that loss. But they dominate the Panthers. The Panthers played teams close, it seems, and the Bucs offense looked elite in that game. A good bounce back. I think they just had some mistakes with the play calling against Dallas. They're a dangerous team right now. They're up 1 spot to number 10. The Commanders will also go up a spot. Impressive win against the Falcons for a little bit. It felt like they were going to lose. They definitely got outplayed in the first half, but they found a way to win. They're pretty clutch. Jaden Daniels is clutch. So they got players on this team that are clutch. It's been a little, maybe, if you're a Commanders fan, maybe a little more stressful recently because they were having some quality wins that they were putting teams away. And then, late mid-season to late season, they had some losses and they've been squeaking by, and there's just these crazy wins that they're getting. But I love that they're finding ways to close. So they are number 9. The Rams aren't playing that great on offense right now. I think it's classic McVay this time of the year. He tries to save some stuff for the playoffs. He did it the year they won the Super Bowl. I think that it could be, I could be wrong, but that could be what it is. But the defense is playing very well recently. They were a little lucky to win that Cardinals game, I think, but they did have control the whole game at the same time, so it's hard to fully say they were lucky. But they're up a spot to number 8. They're winning football games. It's a team that's going to get better at the right time, I feel. Number 7, the Packers go down a spot. Tough one against the Vikings. They got completely outplayed for majority of this game. A good comeback, kind of like the last time against the Vikings. But I know the Packers are a good team, and much like the Rams, much like McVay, LaFleur likes to try to save stuff, and they play their best football in the playoffs. So we'll see if that stays true. But they might have a really tough first-round matchup. We will see. They just got to take care of business against the Bears this week and try to get a little bit better of a seed. 6, the Ravens go up 1 spot. It's weird seeing the Ravens down here. Because they're playing elite football right now. They're playing great football. They destroyed the Texans last week. They're up a spot to number 6. I think, it's not about head-to-head, but when you're trying to rank these teams, it's like, how do we go ahead and put them ahead of the Eagles when the last really good team they played was the Eagles, and the Eagles kind of handled them. Maybe the Ravens are better than them today, even though that wasn't too long ago. It's definitely possible. But, yeah, that's why it's tough to put the Ravens any higher than that. But it's weird. It feels like there's several teams in these rankings that belong at like 30, like the bottom 3 spots. It feels like there's so many teams that you want to put there. But in the top, it feels like there's 6 teams that you want to put at number 1. So you kind of got the same thing going on both sides of the power rankings there. Number 4, the Vikings. Yeah, it's tough not having the Vikings higher either. Against the Packers in that game through 3 quarters and some change, I'm sitting there going like this. I can't believe this is the Vikings. Like, this team might be the best team in football. They look absurd right now, both sides of the ball against a really good team. And then they end up winning by 2. They find ways to win, but you play that good. I don't know what to make of that is my point. Like, I'm going throughout the most of the game, but this is a juggernaut team. They can win the Super Bowl. I can't believe I'm saying that till, God, they're going to let somebody come back on them if they keep doing this, but it's a really good football team. They feel like a team we could rank at number 1, and everyone could agree, but we have them at 4 just because the other teams we got going on here. 3, the Lions, and that one will decide itself. Lions versus Vikings. You could argue the Vikings are playing a little bit better football right now. The Lions' offense is probably the best in football. I guess the Bills maybe too, and the Vikings are up there. Ravens, teams like that, or Chiefs, they're up there. But I didn't see any reason, even though it was a little sketchy against the Niners. I worry about the Lions' defense because of the amount of man coverage and because some of the injuries, of course. It's just hard to drop the Lions below the Vikings in this. I mean, I definitely considered it, just the way the Vikings are playing right now and the way the Lions' defense is playing. But it's going to sort itself out this week. The winner will not only be ahead, but maybe could move up even more because it's a battle for an elite team. I mean, they both could be elite the way the seasons were. So I'm excited about this game coming up and these teams in the playoffs. And this is kind of a rare situation where I did move the Bills down. And it's rare because the Bills just dominated a team. It was the Jets. I think it happened only once before. It was probably the Vikings this year. They dominated. I think it was like the Bears maybe, and then they moved down just because another team had to move up. So I hate doing that, but the Chiefs, the one and only reason for this is the Chiefs have to be at 1 in my power rankings because it's a week-to-week power rankings. They, to me, feel, are the best team in football right now. They also only have 1 loss. I know it's to the Bills, but the Bills have 3. But the Chiefs right now feel like a much, 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 much better team than themselves when they were undefeated. They feel insane right now. They're getting hot at the right time. When they need to score, they score. I mean, they go play a good Steelers team, and they dominate them. They absolutely dominate them, both sides of the ball. The Chiefs just feel like the best team in football right now, and they only have one loss. So by record, which isn't everything, but they are the best team in football technically as well. So just super impressed with them, what they're able to do against a good football team and how they're playing lately. It has everyone going like, the Chiefs they're gonna three-peat, aren't they? For a little bit ago, I didn't think that was gonna happen. Now they might actually do it. They got the 1 seed, so I think they belong at 1. But a lot of teams I feel like belong at 1. Bills, Lions, Vikings, Eagles, Ravens. They all feel like number 1 teams. I think the Packers and the Rams are in the same boat. I think the Packers are a little bit better, but they're a team that those teams I think will be better in the playoff, more dangerous in the playoffs. Of course, they both could lose in round 1. Commanders are they got cold for a little bit. They're getting going at the right time. They're pretty clutch. The Bucs are heating up. The Steelers are kind of going south at the wrong time, but I could see them winning the first round of the playoffs easily. But the Chargers kind of went south. Now they're starting to pick it up again, so that's great. Texans are kind of going south wrong time. Seahawks are obviously out. The Bengals need some help. The Broncos should be in the playoffs. I feel like they're still a really good team, but I think they're going kind of dropping down a little bit at the wrong time here. And lack of experience can be tough in the playoffs, but you never know. And then the Dolphins need the Broncos to lose this week, and they need to win to get in. The Falcons need the Bucs to lose and then themselves to win to get in, and that kind of wraps everything up here. We will do a playoff ranking video. It has nothing to do with what they did in the regular season. We do that next week. Rank teams basically how good of a playoff team can they be. Not about who's going to win one game. It's about who can win the most games in the playoffs. And in that video, I'll throw in this version of the power rankings end of the regular season. We'll take a look at where the regular season rankings finish and compare them to where I had the teams ranked in week 1. It's always a lot of fun to see the differences. Some teams end up in the same spot. Some teams are way off. I think the Commanders are going to be way higher than expected. The Broncos probably a little high. The Vikings a lot higher than we thought, going into the year. So, yeah, it should be pretty interesting. Got a lot of content for the playoffs, for the offseason, for rookies coming up, mock draft coming up. So make sure to join us, like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Again, Wednesday will be during the day for our weekly pick show. So a little later, sorry about that, but we still have our loads of content here. But that'll do it. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.